Hi, I'm Sandy Feldstein, and today I'm going to teach you how to assemble your drum set. Whether you're self-taught or you're taking drum lessons, you usually concentrate on learning how to play the instrument and never take the time to really set up the drums properly. We're going to do that today. As you can see, there are many boxes set around me. This is the way a drum set would come if it came from the factory. If you bought your drum set at a music store, they may already be taken out of the boxes, and some of the things that I'm going to talk to you about today may have already been done to prepare the drum set for you. But I'm going to go step by step, and it's important that you watch each step to make sure that you construct your kit in a way that it'll be comfortable to play and will give you years of carefree enjoyment. It's an exciting time when you get your first drum set, and the first thing you want to do is set it up and play. But please, take a few extra moments, take your time, and I guarantee you that you'll be happier for the rest of your career playing the instrument. I'm going to start with the bass drum. It's the biggest drum, and it builds from the bottom up. You put that down first and build your kit around it. It's interesting, that's the same way you use the bass drum musically. You build from the bottom and the low tones up to the high tones. So let's get started with the bass drum. Whenever you open up a carton, make sure that you do not press a knife or scissors deeply into the cardboard. Even though your drums will be packed with a lot of insulation, you want to make sure that you never scratch the surface of the heads or the surface of the shell of your drum. I can promise you, no matter how many drum sets you have in your lifetime, you will always get the same amount of excitement out of opening up and taking a look at a brand new set. Now that it's out of the box, the first thing you want to do is play it. Please take a moment and listen to what I say, and you will be assured of a drum that's going to give you a lifetime of service. The first thing you have to do to make sure your drum is going to sound good is to tune the head. And you need to first tune it to itself. By tuning it to itself, I mean that it should sound the same at every lug, so that at each tuning point around the head, you should have the same pitch. It's easy to do. You just need to take a drumstick and tap it lightly at each one of the lugs, coming out from the rim the same distance. It's hard to hear because this whole drum head is vibrating. One way to make it easier to hear is to lightly touch the center of the drum with your finger. That will form what is called a node. It stops the vibration, so it'll only go from the one lug to the center. Here, that one was a lot lower. So we can just turn clockwise to tighten, counterclockwise to loosen. Clockwise to tighten, counterclockwise to loosen. Once you get all of the lugs in tune, you can then tune the entire drum head to the pitch you want. Since the bass drum is played with a pedal, we'll wait until we attach the pedal to tune the drum to the pitch that we like. Now, there are two heads on this drum, so you have to do the exact same thing to the other side. Stop the tape, turn the drum around, and tune it to itself. Remember, place one finger lightly in the center of the drum head, and then tap at each lug and tune clockwise to tighten, counterclockwise to loosen. Stop the tape and tune the other side. Now that the bass drum is tuned to itself, it is necessary to attach the spurs so that when we play the bass drum, it does not slide on the floor. The spurs are extended, and with these adjustments are pushed so that they are firm against the floor. Then when you play the drum with the pedal on this side, the bass drum will not slide. If you would like, you can make them even higher, picking the bass drum up a little bit off the floor. This will help project the sound outward. It may look to you like this bass drum is a little bit small. It is. This is a drum from a jazz kit, which is small in size. But no matter what size your bass drum, everything that we have discussed relates. So if it's a big drum or a small drum, you still must do the same things to prepare it for playing. We're now ready to add the bass drum pedal. The pedal is attached just by sliding it over the rim of the drum. There is a wing nut that can be turned to secure it. The bass drum pedal is played with the foot, and when you depress it, it strikes the bass drum head. Now we're ready to tune the drum. I didn't really like that sound very much, and since we now know that the drum is in tune with itself, we can turn each lug the same amount and bring this pitch up to make a nice, low bass drum sound. That's a much better sound. Now it rings. If you like a ringing sound, that's great. If you'd like the sound to ring less, you have to understand how a drum, the bass drum, and every other drum works. When you strike this head, it vibrates. It makes the air within the drum vibrate, and then the other head vibrates. If you want a ringing sound, tune both heads to the same pitch. Then they will vibrate together. If you want the sound to be shorter, tune them to different pitches, and then the vibrations will fight each other and the resonance will not be as much. Tuning the drums is important. You know, when you listen to a drummer, very often you can tell by one of two measures that it's a guy you know who you really like. Well, that's because of the unique sound that that person may get on their instrument. And part of that comes from the way they tune the drum. So take your time when you're doing the tuning. And as you play more and more, you will develop your own sound. We're now ready to set up the drum stool or drummer's throne. We all know that the drum set is played from a seated position, but the height of that seat is crucial to comfortable playing. First, you open up the stand and make sure that it is flat on the floor. Tighten the wing nut to secure it. This adjustment adjusts the height of the stool. There is also a wing nut on the seat portion. So once you place it on, you can tighten that also. I like to adjust the height so that my legs are almost parallel to the floor. The important thing is that your body weight is on the base of your spine so that you are sitting and supporting your body from here, not from your feet. You must have your feet relaxed without pressure so that they are able to play the bass drum and later the hi-hat. You're now ready to assemble the snare drum stand and the snare drum. The stand should be placed flat on the floor, just like we did the stand for the drum stool. Tighten it with the wing nut. Place the second section of the stand in place. Tighten that wing nut also. The next adjustment tilts the drum. We're going to leave it perfectly flat for now. There's also an adjustment that will tighten the claws of the stand around the drum so it won't move. We won't do that until we've tuned the drum and have it ready to play. Now take the snare drum and place it on the snare drum stand. We're going to tune the snare drum exactly like we did the bass drum. We're going to strike it lightly, directly across from each lug, the same distance from the rim. To make it easier to hear, we're going to lightly place our finger in the center of the drum. Listen to these two. Kind of different. To tighten it and make the pitch higher, we turn clockwise or to our right. To loosen or make the pitch lower, we turn counterclockwise to our left. Let's check it again. Better. Now that the drum is in tune with itself, we can change its pitch by turning every lug the exact same amount. If we want this to be pitched higher, we just turn each lug the same amount, so the drum will remain in tune with itself, but the overall pitch will be higher. Now remember what we said about the bass drum. The way a drum works. You strike this head and it vibrates. The air within the drum vibrates, causing the back head to vibrate. The difference on a snare drum is on the bottom head there are these wire snares. So when this head vibrates, the snares vibrate. And that's what gives the snare drum its unique sound. You bring the snares into contact with the head by placing the strainer, this is called the snare strainer, straight up. Now listen to the difference in the sound. Rather than without the snares on. It's important when you tighten the snares to the head by turning the snare strainer screw that you do not make them too tight. If you do, it will stop the bottom head from vibrating and the sound will not be as crisp. So just adjust it nicely. Once you have the drum tuned to itself and tuned to the pitch you like, and the snares adjusted properly, you can then tighten the screw on the bottom that brings these clamps together so that the snare drum will be securely attached to the snare drum stand. We're now ready to put our snare drum with our bass drum at the beginning of developing a kit. When positioning the snare drum with the bass drum, it's important to put its height in a comfortable playing position. Drop your arm to the side, bend at the elbow, and place the stick in your hand. The snare drum height should be where you're going to play without having to reach up higher or reach down lower. The tom-toms are next. First tom-tom that we're going to attach to the kit is a rack-mounted tom-tom. It's mounted right on the bass drum. There's a metal stand that attaches into your bass drum, and it's tightened with a wing nut. The tom-tom attaches to that stand. Before we do it, you have to tune your drum, just like we tuned the bass drum and the snare drum. So I want you to stop the tape and tune the drum. Remember, the first thing you're going to do is tune at every lug to make sure that the drum head is in tune with itself. On this side, then you'll turn it over and do it on the other side. And if you want the pitch of the drum to be as resonant as possible, tune them both to the same pitch. If you want them to not be as resonant, tune one to one pitch and one to another pitch. Remember, clockwise tightens the drum, counterclockwise loosens the drum. stop the tape and tune both heads to themselves, and then tune the drum to the sound that you want to play. Now that you've tuned the tom-tom, you're ready to mount it on the bass drum. The rack mount has many adjustments. This wing nut will adjust its tilt. These will adjust its height. And this one will adjust the distance from the center of the drum. You'll want to play with these until you get your drum exactly where you want it. Once you have it right, you just take the drum and attach it to the mount. Now we're ready to add the floor tom-tom. The floor tom-tom gets its name because it is mounted on the floor with adjustable legs. You must tune this drum just as you have tuned all the others. First tune the top head to itself, then the bottom head to itself, and then adjust both heads to the pitch that you would like to hear. If you have two rack-mounted drums, the second one would go to the right. The smallest one with the highest pitch on the left, the next one with a lower pitch on the right, and finally your lowest pitch tom-tom, the floor tom-tom, will be on the bottom. Stop the tape, tune the drums, and then we'll move it into its correct playing position. When setting the floor tom-tom at the drum set, it's important to position it so that it is comfortable to play. Bring it close to your right leg and position its height similar to the snare drum height, so that when you bend your arm and put your stick in your hand, you are again at a comfortable playing position. So you can move from one drum to the other as smoothly as possible. With the three drums in this position, you physically move smoothly between the drums rather than having to move high or low. So there's a nice level playing field. Now that we have all the drums set up, it's important to tune them relative to each other. There's no sense in having to physically move from this drum to this drum if they're going to sound the same. We want to have different pitches so we can make more musical sounds. We go from the highest drum around the kit to the lowest drum, eventually the bass drum. So we have a snare drum, and then a tom-tom, and then a floor tom-tom, and then a bass drum. So the pitches between these two drums should be far apart. You're now ready to add the cymbals to your drum kit. The first cymbals that we're going to add are the hi-hat cymbals. They are unique in that they are played both with the hand and with the foot. They attach to a hi-hat cymbal stand. The hi-hat cymbal stand, like all of our other stands, should be mounted firmly on the floor and tightened with the wing nut. In the center of the hi-hat cymbal stand, there is a free floating rod. The top part of the stand attaches directly into the bottom part and are screwed together. Then they are adjusted for height. There is a felt washer and a rubber washer around the metal rod. It is important with all cymbals to make sure that metal never touches metal. You must use both felt and rubber washers. We're now ready to put the bottom cymbal of the two hi-hat cymbals on the stand. This is a free-floating cymbal, and it merely gets placed on the rod and sits on the felt pad. The second cymbal gets attached to a cymbal clutch. It has a wing nut, an adjustment nut, and a felt. It gets put on the top of the cymbal, gets another felt, and another nut. When they are attached together, this goes on top of the rod and is tightened with the wing nut. The cymbals should be positioned about 3/4 of an inch apart. They are now in a position to be played with a stick on the top or by drawing them together with your foot. You're now ready to add your other cymbals to your kit. All cymbals are mounted on a cymbal stand. The stands are basically the same as the other stands that we've already put together. First, make sure that it is flat on the floor and that you tighten the wing nut. The second section of the cymbal stand gets mounted in the first and also gets tightened with a wing nut. The third section is put in the same way. This wing nut adjusts the tilting of the cymbal stand. And this wing nut is above the top of the cymbal. Notice, like with the hi-hat, there is a felt washer and also a rubber sleeve washer. Remember, you never want the metal of a cymbal to touch the metal of a stand. There are various types of cymbals. In most kits, you need to have two basic types, a ride cymbal and a crash cymbal. Obviously, the more cymbals you have, the more color you will be able to add to your playing. But in the beginning, a ride cymbal and a crash cymbal are really necessary. The ride cymbal is large in size, and I'm going to mount that next. The wing nut that's placed on the top should never be screwed down tightly. You do not want it to touch the cymbal. When positioning this at the kit, you need to put the cymbal in a position where it is easy to play. There is no set rule as to where you need to put the cymbal. I like to keep my ride cymbal fairly flat so that I can play it in a flat motion when moving around the drums. Other players like to play them up high. It really doesn't matter. It should be what's comfortable for you. Besides the ride cymbal, the next cymbal that we should add is a crash cymbal. Just like we did with the ride cymbal, you must have a felt washer and a rubber washer. Remember, you never want metal to be touching metal. Add the wing nut, but do not make it tight. You'll notice that the ride cymbal is flat and low with a slight tilt, where the crash cymbal is flat and high. It's high because you need to be able to strike it with a glancing blow. Now our kit is ready to play. Check the position one more time. Make sure you're in a comfortable spot, that you're sitting with your weight on your spine and not holding yourself up with your feet. That your snare drum, your tom-tom, and your floor tom-tom are all in a smooth, comfortable playing position. Your ride cymbal is easy to get to, and it's easy to get to all of the areas. In rock playing, you'll be playing not only in the middle of the cymbal, but also up on the bell. You'll also be playing up in this area for Latin playing, so you need to be able to get to it. Make sure the crash cymbal is in a comfortable position so that you could swipe it, and make sure that the hi-hat is also smooth, so you can go smoothly from here to here to here to to hear. Taking these few extra minutes in setting up your cymbals, setting up your drums, and tuning your drums will help your playing for the rest of your life. Sitting comfortably will make it so that you are not using extra motion and extra tension in your muscles, and it will allow you to concentrate on becoming a better musician. Have fun playing the drum set.